Sorry to just dive in, but I know our time is somewhat limited. Talking about the October 22nd Ethnic Studies Statement, there's a petition, more than 3,000 people have labeled it anti-Semitic, so I'm curious if you agree with their assessment.
Yes, so when I first read the Ethnic Studies Statement, I was shocked by it. But in my role as Chancellor, I thought it was important to do three things. First, I wanted to convey to the campus that their health, the students, faculty, staff, their health and safety and support were a priority with me. Second, I also wanted to get across to the campus that as a university, we serve as a forum for where competing ideas have a place and that they can coexist without fear of intimidation, threats, or reprisals. And third, if there are threats and reprisals, that we have processes that we can then look at to investigate whether there's really any criminal or code of conduct violations. So when I first read that statement, I felt that as Chancellor for the past 15 years, I needed to come out strongly with those 3 points.
Do you think it's anti-Semitic?
I'm sorry?
Do you think it's anti-Semitic?
I personally, my personal opinion was that it was anti-Semitic. Again, you know, my purpose as Chancellor of a campus of 36,000 students and 10,000 faculty and staff is to make sure that they know safety and support are number one with me.
So if, I'm skipping around, but there's, as I think you know, we have emails from the department chair, and so one of the professors wrote that if someone labels what they wrote anti-Semitic, I'm just going to quote, "Those that would accuse us of doing so lack the capacity of critical thought or are simply aligned with fascist ideologies."
Well, I obviously disagree with that statement, and that you know, when faculty speak, I want them obviously to speak from their professional experience, just not from personal opinion. We can have differences when it comes to that professional experience. And so that might be their take on things, but I disagree with that.
Kind of calling you a fascist and saying you can't think.
I mean, you know, again, free expression can be very uncomfortable at times. And, you know, being called a fascist is, you know, uncomfortable, but I respect their free speech.
And so if there's some people believe, and if you think it is anti-Semitic, that their statement would violate the code of conduct for non-discrimination and respect for others. So where do you stand kind of there? Well,
there were many calls for our Office of Institutional Equity and Compliance to review statements by the Ethnic Studies Department, and I leave it to them to make decisions whether it's a violation of any type of university policy.
As far as I know, there's no case examining that right now.
I don't know if that's the case or not, to be honest.
So, and Jewish leaders are asking for accountability. Regent is saying that the university leadership must take a strong stand. Are you planning to do anything to hold?
Well, one of the things that we did that I think was very important was we have a number of departments on campus. I mean, arts and sciences alone probably has 60 departments. And we wanted to make sure that departments understood what could be on their website. And so we came out with a process for putting information on a website. It can't just be by one individual or a few individuals. It has to be by the department. It has to be based on professional expertise, not personal opinion. It has to claim that they're not speaking for the university, that they're speaking for their department only. Also, they need to take a look at will their statement impact any groups of individuals on the campus, like students, faculty, and staff? And if so, how can they work with student affairs and work with our strategic relations communications group to make sure that what they're doing is not going to be harmful. And we've not gotten any pushback from any department since we put out those kind of processes for use of departmental websites.
I just kind of want to zero in. So you're saying you believe that their statement was anti-Semitic. People are asking for accountability. What do you plan to do about it?
Well, I mean, what I plan is that if there are any anti-Semitic remarks or intimidation against anybody on the campus, that we will investigate it through the processes that we have. Again, there's this balance between free speech and speech that is determined to be anti-Semitic, or that speech that is discriminatory. And so we have those processes and we follow those processes.
Are you saying there will be an investigation? Will you open an investigation?
Well, there have been investigations of anti-Semitism on the campus by
It's specific to the Ethnic Studies Department.
I don't believe that there, I don't know if there's an investigation or not. I know that OIEC, our Office of Institutional Equity and Compliance, have looked at that.
So you're not planning to initiate anything on your own, is that?
No, it's initiated by OIEC. That's our process.
Got it. I want to kind of focus on their response to the reaction they received, which was the department chair telling everyone to get into lockdown mode, work remotely. Obviously, they referred to people who wrote them as fascists, called it hate mail. Are you concerned that these professors weren't able to listen, engage, think critically?
Well, what I do know is that there were feedback from both internal constituents and external constituents to the department that after a period of roughly 3 days, they took down their statement. I'm not sure that they understood the negative impact that their statement would have on the campus community and the external community.
I think there's an argument that they didn't and haven't proven that they can educate themselves about this topic. So how comfortable are you employing them to teach and educate others?
Well, again, from a standpoint of free expression, free speech, and academic freedom, I want the ability for them to speak based upon their professional expertise, not about their personal opinion. And as students in the class and other faculty, if they hear of any intimidating behavior or any type of behavior that would constitute any type of process like OIEC or code of conduct, we would follow through with that.
Will you?
Yes.
Their second statement advocates and encourages people to go to an anti-Israel political organization. Are you comfortable with the department using the state university resources to do that?
Well, again, as part of a public university, and I keep coming back to free expression and academic freedom, we have to make sure that using the criteria that I talked about, that it's based not on personal opinion, but on professional expertise, that professional expertise can be and has been debated. That's what we do as a university.
Right, but that's clearly not happening.
No, I think, there is that discussion going on. It's probably going, we've had a number of not only peaceful vigils, but we've had teach-ins, we've had faculty from various departments, discussing this whole issue on the campus. That's what we should be doing as a university.
So from my read of the policies, freedom of expression generally relates to people expressing themselves privately. Like I write something on my Facebook page. Academic freedom is generally connected to someone's scholarship. Their own colleagues said, it's the statement, not our scholarship, that's under attack. So I don't see how those policies apply, but do you believe their statement was an expression of academic freedom?
Yes, I believe that, through academic freedom, they're able to make that statement.
You called it anti-Semitic.
Pardon me?
You called it anti-Semitic. That's academic freedom?
But again, that's something that is investigated of whether that speech is, and whether it falls into a violation of of discrimination, harassment. That's kind of the key point of the Office of Institution Equity and Compliance.
I had an interview last week with a Jewish leader on campus who was really saying this is an opportunity. We want to hear from leadership that they'll take a strong stand against hate, that they'll hold them accountable. What's the message kind of that you want them to hear?
Well, again, I want them to hear, three basic points. I want them to hear the message that the number one priority for a campus, for me as chancellor, when you have 36,000 students and 10,000 faculty and staff, that we're going to provide a safe environment and a supportive environment. Secondly, I want to make sure that individuals understand that as a university, we serve as a forum where competing ideas can coexist without fear of reprisal. And number three, if we do see reprisal and fear of reprisal, and that we have processes to investigate whether they violate any code of conduct or any criminal activity.
And again, I was told there's no investigation about it, so will you initiate one? Will you ask OIAC to do so?
I'm sorry,
Will you direct OIEC to investigate that?
I believe that given the number of the feedback that ethnic studies has received both internally and externally, that OIEC has investigated that. Their findings are, it's about the complainant and the respondent. I'm not involved in the findings, but I trust our processes.
And Aaron, you'll see it just next meeting, so we can just talk about it.
Sure. I've had people agree to do an interview and then back out, but I've never really heard someone saying no and then yes, so I'm just curious why you want to be here today.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to make sure, and I think one of the things we had talked about was doing this interview later during the break, but if that didn't work out, I wanted to do it today to really make those 3 points that I've been making. And that is, my top priority is safety and support of our students, faculty, and staff. Secondly, that we're a forum where competing ideas can coexist without fear of threats or reprisals. And if there are threats, that we can move forward with processes that investigate whether there are violations. Those were the 3 points that I wanted to make, and so thank you for that.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it.